Good morning. I think we're going to change to English now. It's an enormous pleasure to have a very valuable panel, starting from Helio coming from IMEC initially from Belgium, but also in Spain now. Christos Makiyama, Greek and Japanese. Somebody forgot his mobile. And then Regis Hamelin coming from Blumorpho in France, and Yorgos Koutsoyannopoulos from Greece. Time's there. Okay, let's start. I'm very happy to have this very diversified panel to speak about challenges in Europe, opportunities in Europe. Then we have IMEC, one of the leading research centers in Europe in terms of microtechnologies, microsystem, microelectronics. Christos helped a lot Greek companies developing in Japan. He's kind of two pillars, helping bringing overseas. Regis came from a company who left marketing research company YOL back to 2015, 2014 to create Blumorpho at that time with the ambition to help bringing technology to the marketplace. They're making fantastic work there. And Yorgos, kind of monument of this country, starting companies, bringing big companies here in Greece, like Ansys, Synopsys, and then being a business ideal now. So I will try to start by Christos, because since we speak about Europe, let's see how others see Europe. And tell us, Christos, how Japanese companies see Europe. How see they Greece, perhaps, because you know this kind of environment. They see a kind of provider of knowledge hub, of commercial representative. Please let us know, what do you think about that?
Well, thank you very much for having me here, George. Let me start from this. I mean, let's understand Japan, first of all. I mean, and most important, the economic model of Japan. Japan, after the Second World War, started with made in Japan and gradually moved to made by Japan. I mean, moving their production capacity in emerging markets. And one of the most important ones, it was China, at least for the last 20 years. Take into account all these geopolitics that also this morning, I mean, is mentioned a lot. I think the last 10 years, Japan is starting, they have a kind of, for me, a strategic soul searching. What Japan is going to, what is going to be the role of the country, and especially in the technology space. I think one of these transitions, it was the only Japan, and specifically say is to focus and embed the industry in strategic areas that might not control the whole technology value chain, but have some very important positions. And going back into the semiconductors, right now, is very well known, Japan have monopolies in a lot of materials. Most of the wafers right now are using semiconductors, are manufactured by Japan. 1/3 of the manufacturing equipments are made in Japan. So that was the first step of only Japan. And going back to your question, George, is my feeling the last few years, the new wave of Japan is innovate with Japan. That means is not just have transactional, let's say, trade in specific area, but work with alliance countries and innovate together. And I think that's the position of Greece. They already started. There are some operations here in Greece, and this is going to increase. And just to close that, 2 years ago in January, just 2 years ago, something unusual for the Japan geopolitics or diplomacy, Greece signed a strategic partnership agreement with Japan. Japan is not known for signing this kind of strategic bilateral agreements. Just to give you a sense, it was just in the same month, January, after Italy. So this says a lot. And in this scope, besides various economic activities, it covers joint collaboration in areas of technology, space, defense, and so on. So I think Greece right now is very well positioned to explore these alliances.
In terms of co-development, in terms of supplying technology, how do you see that?
It's both. It's starting, I think, from there. I think that the first thing is, and also today's discussion, is the capabilities that the Greek human resources there are. But in my opinion, it needs to be elevated in other areas. It's not just I have a good talent, is what I'm going to do next.
Okay. Thank you so much. So it's a bit neutral vision from the external overseas world to Europe. I will remain also the neutral side and we will ask somebody who's not really in the industry but trying to help the industry, Blumorpho, and ask you perhaps, Regis, through your experience before that in YOL and after that in Blumorpho the last 11 years, what do you see now in this industry? What's the big trends which give opportunities or give challenges? How do you feel that you are very often trying to bring technology to the market? We ran several projects in the past together with other research centers when I used before. So tell us about that.
Yes. So first, thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here. So when it comes to technology trends, everything in semiconductor is currently driven by AI. So we talked about it again and again and again. And at this moment, what we see is kind of transition from the training to the inference. So lots of focus was on training the models, and we are currently seeing the saturation of that. We are at the tipping point of training, and the market starts to go to inference. And how do we see that? We see that with the evolution of the stock market. We see NVIDIA slightly decrease. It's a lot of money because it's NVIDIA, but it decreases, and Google increases because Google is better in inference. So that's a first sign, a first evolution. So that's an opportunity, clearly, because NVIDIA is not the best in inference. So if you are positioned on that, that's a good opportunity. And also, it's obvious that the current trend of data centers is not sustainable because it's always more brute force, more computing power, and always more energy. And at the end, even today, data centers cannot use all their computing power due to a lack of energy. So to cope with this, of course, you can build a small nuclear reactor.
Or several of them.
The SMRs, and we have seen a lot of venture capital investment into this kind of trends, but it takes 20 years to develop this kind of things, not 5 years. And in any case, in fact, the current industry is currently reflecting on a linear way. We have one model, we must increase the model, so we must increase linearly the power, the computing power, and the energy available. So, but there will be other ways to make AI. LLM is already more or less reaching a saturation point, so there will be new models, and the combination of all those models together will lead to an even more powerful AI, the general AI, which is expected. So when it will come, the new models are currently in the R&D stage. So first, you need to have the inference that takes over. The market must take off because today the traction of the market, the adoption is more on the consumer side and not really on the industry side. Mm-hmm. So this inference must happen in the industry. And then you will see these new waves of models coming. And for semiconductors, the opportunity is also to develop some chips which can deliver the inference with less energy consumption and cope with these new ways to alternate between an LLM and a new model, the ones that are coming up. Yes.
Okay, so what I hear from you is making new chips, perhaps not only for the classical processor, but also, or memories, but dedicated to this kind of things, so a kind of opportunity, as you see there. Good, thank you. The other thing I forgot to tell about you is, as a Blumorpho, you're managing a kind of federation of competence center, the aCCCess, of the 28 European competence center. And then coming to this level of CHIPS Act, we have this competence center, but also the design centers. IMEC is running a European design center. I would like to ask you, Helio, how this design center cooperates with the pilot lines, with the Grenoble pilot line, the Leuven pilot line, the Dresden pilot line, how it cooperates also with the HCCCs, with competence centers. Please tell us a bit about that.
Yes, thank you. Well, the chip design platform, which is what IMEC is coordinating together with another 12 partners from different countries, it's what the Scott has mentioned is this cloud-based design environment in which startups, SMEs that want to make their design, they will be able to have access to the ADA tools already with a price that has been negotiated by us with the ADA vendors, and that will avoid each of those startups from different countries having to negotiate. We are also negotiating standard agreements, standard contracts, so all the time to negotiate those EDA tool access will be shortened. Same goes for IP. When you make your own design, your IP, it's a small part in an overall system. You will have access also to the commodity IP needed for making your idea a reality. And we will have access through the chip design platform to all the pilot lines. So we want to be the one-stop shop and access to different pilot lines, so they are not lying there in different countries, but they are all together in the chip design platform. What is more important is that the chip design platform will come with an acceleration grant. So we will have up to 220 million euros to give to startups. And this is unprecedented because it's a very large scale of grants that will be given to those startups. And we are talking from two types of accelerations. One is level 1, which will be 100,000 euros to start setting up your design flow and having access to the tools and so on. But in the second phase, you will have grants up to 8 million euros. So this represents an opportunity for all those startups here in Greece, in Spain, where I'm from, and other countries. Those startups will be able to get this grant and something that, together with the VCs, they will de-risk the investment needed. So I think this is a very good opportunity.
So that means if I dream the chip that mentioned just resist now, the new chip which is more adopted to artificial intelligence, and want to make a startup, have the idea, go patent the idea, and go to you, and I can have a grant if I'm good enough to get those millions that you said in order to make my chip.
Yes. So basically, startups actually doesn't need to be a startup. It needs to be an SME, or a company that has an idea. They want to make a chip. They, as from mid-2026, they will be able to apply to the European chip design platform, and they will be able to present their project. And we will cover part of the cost of this.
Part of the cost.
Part of the cost, yes. So the way
50-50?
The way it is structured at the moment, the European Commission covers 35% of the cost. Another 35% needs to come from the country. So the country needs to also be invested. And 30% needs to come from the company. And that's through VCs, or if it's a company that is already well capitalized, own funds.
Okay. And now, I mean, what you say that basically you are changing a bit the landscape of design, what I hear. It's completely true. How does modify the landscape of design for microelectronics in Europe?
Well, from the technical point of view, the fact that we are already building this cloud environment that will allow startups that do not have in-house design flows at the moment to shorten the time needed for setting up those, which is quite some time. Also the time of negotiating all those ADA tools, licenses. This often requires involving legal teams, that this is not in the DNA of a startup to have to deal with this contract. So all this will be streamed in this design platform. And then there will be support to cover the costs, which are very heavy. For instance, if you are working at university and you are using non-commercial licenses, you think that those licenses are not very expensive. At the moment you go to a startup, those can go up to millions of euros. Yeah. So this will really accelerate and will support those companies that before were blocked by access to capital. We expect that this will be a solution for that.
Thank you for that. So for a company that's Greek champion in design, starting from a startup level and then attracting big companies here, how this environment, how this change of environment influence the company you used to be, ANSYS and Synopsys, or does not influence that? And now, as an angel investor that you are now, how do you see that, this evolution?
It's this disruption of the global supply chains that we witness right now to a very large extent constitutes war. So this fluidity is an opportunity. And as a country here in Greece, we have to see that as an opportunity. Now, that's the temporary context. This is something that probably will last for a few years. But historically, and I guess this is what you are asking, right? Historically, it wasn't easy for a small country with the size of, a population of 10 million to be able to develop and deliver product that could compete globally. Having said that, I guess what you're... Can you hear me?
We lost the mic of George.
No, it's okay. It's coming back.
No?
No. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's better.
Okay. So
we lost again the mic of George. Somebody can help?
So it's...
Good.
Okay, it's good now?
Yes.
So
Please.
Fix the angle maybe, or?
Christos. So the attraction of a multinational to acquire an entity and to keep investing in an area like Greece requires a lot of little details that are very important. And currently, I would say that Greece as an ecosystem demonstrates all of those details. And that is a combination of talent, combination of know-how, business know-how, implementation know-how, productization know-how, and in general, all the set of functions that are important for a company to operate, to have a global reach, and to be able to compete. Now, historically, as a country, we were pretty poor in everything except core research.
Yes.
We were extremely strong academically. We were extremely amazing in building code, designing chips, but we were lacking everything else. The fact that we have attracted so many multinationals the past decade, I would say, creates this platform to help the local ecosystem understand business and global reach. And as long as we keep doing what we are doing, the trend is good, the trend is positive, the derivative is pretty steep, and this is what this association represents, the steep curve of this exponential growth.
This is indeed a question I was planning to make for you later on, but it stimulates me to make it now. What motivated these big companies come to you beyond your character, your uniqueness, to go ahead, and your talents? What brought these companies to say, I'm going to acquire Helio, I'm going to make business in Greece?
George, companies behave rationally.
Yes.
And rationally means that they are after a combination of talent at a relative low cost, easy reach, cultural fit, and the ability to scale and grow. So the moment was ripe and the time was right, and this is what this local ecosystem exhibited or has been exhibiting in the past 10 years. It has a combination of talent at a relatively attractive, at least still, but not for very long, attractive cost, with all the benefits that can come from this coexistence with the rest of the European entities, organizations, and countries.
Okay, thank you. So we speak about investing foreign countries, investing in Greece. I would like to remain in the investment, but another kind of investment, venture capital investment. And I would like to ask you, Regis, about how do you feel from what you see you're trying to bring people in investing in this industry? How do you feel the evolution of this industry, VC industry, for microelectronics, global, not only microelectronics, design and chips, but also the microsystem, you know very well. Yes. Please let us know about that. How do you see?
For the semiconductor, we've seen an explosion of the venture capital investment since already 2020. From 2020 to 2021, after the COVID period, the investment doubled in semiconductor worldwide. And in the past 10 years, that was $51 billion in total, which were injected into startups. And the competition comes from China now. The level of venture capital investment which have been injected into Chinese companies is huge. And 56% of this investment goes to fabless companies. So why? Because fabless have the biggest value. The lowest cost in operation and the biggest return on investment. And in the stock market, that's where you see the big win. Okay. So what about Europe in the middle? So the good thing is that Europe is stable. When this market explodes, Europe is stable. So it means that we also grow linearly with that, but we remain. So the numbers are, we have 25% of the deals for only 10% of the funds. So that makes us investing in lots of small companies, small deals, more in early stage and Series A. So it means that we are lacking the money for the hyper-growth stage and later. That's where, unfortunately, European companies are either sold to US companies or they are looking for funds elsewhere. And now funds can come also from Asia. That's a new trend in venture capital. Now, where are they invested? So I mentioned fabless companies. So the lowest value is into the material side. The EDA is not very well understood, and it's a pity because there's a lot that is going to happen in design in the next few years. We're going to learn how to use AI in design, and also chiplet is a new way to design. Chiplet will be the next IP, so it's a pity that EDA is not really supported by venture capital investors. But yeah, that's mostly the emergence also of dual-use investors. Okay. 4 or 5 years ago, you would talk about the defense market to a venture capital investor. It's a no interest, too small market, there's nothing happening here. And now, more and more, you see an interest of venture capital investors to look into what can a technology be usable into 2 different areas.
Okay. Now you stimulate another question. I was not planning to make, but I mean, spoke about financial investment, we speak about venture capitalists, but speak also about China, about strategic investing. There's a lot of strategic investing competing directly. Tools, for instance, ASML, supposed to be #1, unique to make tools from this industry. And suddenly we see companies in China like C-Carrier exploding. I would like to come to you, Helio. What do you feel about that? About the strategic investment, the strategic competition from China, and they're going to catch up with Europe. It's going to be what Thomas said, a kind of 2 worlds, or we hope to break the wall?
Well, I know IMEC, for instance, has for an R&D, it's quite special when it comes to investment because we have our own fund, Expand, and we have a very, let's say, well structured team that does venturing, and we do venturing both sides. So one type of venturing is that we try to bring our IP into the market, but we also have this expand fund. What we do is we find companies that need our IP and we invest in those companies. And it is often there that we are investing together with companies from America and so on, or other investors. So recently, for instance, there was in the news, Celestial AI was one of the investments that we were in a very early stage and has been acquired by Marvel for, I think, about 5 billion euros. So I think in the investors community, it is often they work together. But indeed, I think in Europe, we lack the eager to go to the next stage. I think we sell very early. I don't know the reason. I'm not an investor myself. But my feeling is that it is often, at least in the investments that IMEC does, that is with large communities of investors. We do not invest alone, and they are often also Americans. And
but not Chinese.
I'm not aware of Chinese funds.
No, that's the big question. So let's fly again overseas, come back to you, Christos, see what's happening in Japan, this new initiative about trying to target 2 nanometers. Can be an influence that for our own country, for Greece, on that? I mean, this is very ambitious. Open in Japanese over the last years, it's not anymore the leader it used to be.
Right.
It wants to come back. Please.
Actually, this whole Rapidus thing is quite interesting. My view in this venture that is a very high risk, the government is backing up and is one of the scope of a national security thing. My view in this venture is something more fundamental of the semiconductor industry globally to move forward. And the problem right now is TSMC is a monopoly. Is it good for the industry? Is it going to be the driver of new companies emerge and supply this very super optimized ecosystem? And what is the problem? I mean, beyond the 2 nanometers or 1 nanometers, I mean, from this technological point of view, I think is a fundamental problem of the business model. And if we analyze how a TSMC model works, it depends in a very, very high volume customers to fund the innovation. And if we see the financials, you have Apple have a quarter, and probably the top 5 have 80%. So that's a bottleneck and a challenge, let's say, to have companies, new companies emerge and utilize the new semiconductor technology. And of course, I mean, if you have a sole company to be the big customer, it seems all the whole value chain is locked into the requirements of the top customer. For me, Rapidus is not about the 2 nanometers, if it's going to build a better, around gate or whatever. I think is the challenge to change the business model is how I'm going to disrupt it and address, instead of having an operation that can be sustainable and profitable, having 2, 3 customers, can I do the same thing serving 10,000 companies?
Okay.
That means you need a whole new philosophy of re-engineering from equipment, how to serve these customers, how to deliver, and of course, I mean the cost structure. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, today, to tape out in 5 nanometers, the whole project is $500 million. I mean, I was listening the numbers today. I mean, the whole Greek industry's output is 800 million. Who is going to afford it? I mean, and right now, if you exclude Apple, Broadcom, that basically aggregates the designs of the big cloud providers, and NVIDIA, I mean, there's no any other application that can drive the innovation. And I think this is the debate of Rapidus,
the idea
to change the industry.
Disrupt a bit the business model. Think a bit overseas. I mean, we speak about changing the business model, speak about jobs, be maintained in a place or another. Actually, turn myself to Helio again. I mean, over time, IMEC has been established in international place. Now you're in Spain. My good friend Roser, the case maker, created TCMC, IMEC near TCMC in Taiwan. There's a kind of balance between internationalization and maintaining jobs here. It's something we face great companies. Companies can travel, can maintain jobs, not maintain jobs. What is your feeling about jobs created in Europe? Can you give some examples in terms of research, in terms of industry, and how this balance between overseas and Europe is maintained?
Yes, very good question. I think it's very important to understand that when it comes to fab, to production, the R&D infrastructure is kept in Leuven, so where the fab is in Leuven. And now we are actually indeed opening another fab in Malaga, but it's the first time IMEC operates a fab outside our Leuven facility. There in Malaga is going to be a 300 millimeter fab that will be interconnected to the one in Leuven to do things there that we cannot do in Leuven. So non-CMOS compatible processes and materials, with the idea to capitalize the willingness from the Spanish country to have something in semiconductor and to develop this kind of reservoir of knowledge that IMEC is. When it comes to other countries, IMEC, it's working only at application level. So what we have is R&D teams of different sizes, which are capitalizing on the skills and the sometimes of the necessities that this ecosystem, this region has to develop for their local industry. But those are always working at industry. Yeah, at local industry and at local skills. So we are indeed becoming an international, but a pan-European entity. And our logic there is that we are bringing the skills and the capabilities from those regions that are well developed in different applications into the IMEC ecosystem, and we are also bringing the IMEC ecosystem into this region. So basically what we are doing is bringing all this talent and all those ideas into our pilot line where you can test and develop those new technologies. In terms of work, I mean, IMEC has non-stop growing over the last, I mean, it's been 40 years now, but now we are 6,500 people. And this has an impact in the region of around 13,000 employees that are linked or to the IMEC ecosystem. So you see that for an RTO, from a research institute, the impact that it has already in the region is huge. And now with all those pan-European projects, we are growing in numbers, in more skills and more people being trained in different areas. For instance, only in Malaga, we expect around 200 people being there working full time, plus another 100 people indirectly working there in the fab there. And this happens like I'm from Spain myself, and it was mentioned before, like why do companies come to those countries? I think one of the reasons is indeed talent. I think Spain, I think it's pretty similar there than with Greece. We are very good engineers, but in the past maybe we lack the opportunities, and I think there's a lot of bright talent that are creating very interesting startups, and big companies see that. They see this talent and they try to capitalize it, and they often buy those companies, and they use this mechanism to establish themselves. So for IMEC also, Malaga, for instance, is a place where we believe we can attract a lot of talent from people from Spain and Mediterranean people that emigrate to other places, and now they will come to Spain and develop their careers.
Good to hear from you the message that you have a lever for SMEs, creating new products, etc. Exactly. Still the question is creating startups, creating big companies, buying startups. And my previous life left that sometimes the startups have been purchased, they maintain in place, but sometimes they fly away. There have been cases in our startups moving to India, these kind of things. I would like to turn to you, George. How do you face this kind of problem in terms of if you want to maintain jobs in the country, but might be a big company, purchase one of our startups, not necessarily yours, but then they can bring our good people or our talents out of the country. Give the example of India, can be other countries. How should we face this kind of issue? Though it's very difficult to answer this question, but it's...
Yes, George, the phenomenon has been studied thoroughly across the globe. It's not just Greece that had multinationals purchase local companies and then make a decision whether to retain or to let go. I would say the key, the success ingredient is to develop amazing technology. If you succeed in building something that has superiority, it's really high class, world class. And it happens to be acquired by a bigger company.
Whatever.
That cements the continuation of the success and the growth.
Excellence, then. Excellence.
So excellence is a key thing. If it's a company in distress, then the story is very different. But I believe that if you want to build a trajectory that will last, even through multiple acquisitions, which is my experience.
Absolutely.
The technology itself can be enough to keep that original seed keep growing and eventually become, a substantial mass that can act as a key ingredient of the ecosystem. So that's, if you ask me, to give you one vector, that's the one.
And if I build on what you say, I think perhaps the roots in the local networks, local universities, research center, in order to maintain this excellence in the long term, just following up your thoughts.
All of them reflect exactly that one thing. So what is amazing technology? What is world-class technology? How do you develop that? That means that you have a local academic ecosystem. You have students, you have PhD students, you have professors that do true research that is world-class. It means that you have companies where employees can circulate, can learn, can develop their careers. So all that contributes to that one metric, which is world-class product.
Exactly, thank you so much.
Okay.
Gentlemen, we have another 3 minutes, 39 seconds, 38 now. I would like to ask each one of you something less than a second, less than a minute. We're in a country who needs to strengthen its design capabilities. We're strong on that. But we need to move towards manufacturing something. I would like to hear this in some words from your own experience. What is this something? It can be, of course, we're not going to have TSMC here. Perhaps not, of course, but we'll see. What do you see? In which direction should it move? Let's take it left from right, perhaps George.
The question about manufacturing has to do with a lot of things related to the supply chain. So once you have a tangible product, for example, it means that you have to ship it someplace. So do you have those channels in place? Or you expect to create the channels as well? A simple question, but I'm just reminding the Greeks of the room that this has been historically one of the challenges that we faced. Then you need other things. For example, legislation, accessibility, business talent that can build the channels. So you have all these peripheral but equally important
kind of soft skills that need to
exactly.
be defined before defining what to do.
Exactly. And then we come to the core, which is the factory.
Yes.
So you need technology, you need know-how, you need culture.
Soft skills and culture.
And this cannot be developed over even a decade. So we're talking about a multi-decade endeavor.
Oops. You're putting the bar quite high. Thank you very much, George.
We have to look at it.
Thank you very much. Regis.
So if we think about producing something and if we limit ourselves to the value chain of semiconductor, because you can build a lot of things.
The extended semiconductors, perhaps.
I think there's, I heard about it during the previous panel, but I think there's an opportunity in packaging because most of the packaging today of semiconductor is gone in Southeast Asia. So it's a very low value packaging, and there's an opportunity now in advanced packaging, which has much more value. It's 5% of the market, but it will be more than 50% of the value in packaging. And the opportunity is also in the factory. It costs much less to produce a packaging factory than a full 300 millimeter factory. So that's front-end factory is $1 billion. Packaging factory is 200 million, so it's 5 times less.
Thank you very much. For the two gentlemen, remain another 20 seconds. Sorry for that, it was a bit slow. Perhaps can have more than 10 seconds.
Please go ahead.
Well, I mean, manufacturing, there are different phases of it. And in IMEC, for instance, we do low volume manufacturing. So we can support companies when they require a few units all the way to a certain level of scale up. Of course, when it comes to a bit more scale up, we are not the strongest partners because it becomes a bit too expensive. So it is also, you need to see also where to position yourself.
There's the niche, some niche markets, high-end niche markets. Thank you very much, Helio. Christos.
Well, I think it's a general rule for me. I mean, if you try a latecomer to compete into something already established, there's no chance. So you need to identify a new manufacturing, a new product, and I think this is my message.
So, gentlemen, thank you very much. I learned myself a lot from you. Thank you very much. I hope it was useful for all of you.